Welcome to day 2 of the 12 Days of Command. Today we'll be covering the Contacts applet, which is where you will store your database inside of Command. Let's take a look. To get to the Contacts applet, it is this icon right here. Again, if you click on the KW at the top, it does expand that menu so you can see what each one means. We're going to click on Contacts here to open up the applet. Once this opens up, yours will probably look a little bit different, whether you have contacts or your database might be empty if you're brand new to Command, but this is where you will see all of the contacts in your database. So you can see here we have a search function at the top. I do have some filters on, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this video. You'll see your columns here, the name of the contact. You can choose to have any information visible, whether you want their phone number or their email to show up here. And we can customize those columns, but we will, again, talk about that a little bit later. Up here at the very top right, you'll see we have an import button as well as an add contact button. So most of the time, you're going to be using the add contact button to begin adding people to your database. However, if you're brand new to Command and you do have contacts in another system, whether it's in Paragon or your phone or your email account, you can import that. And all of those different database platforms will allow you to export those contacts. So essentially, that's what you'll have to do if you do want to transfer contacts into Command. You just need to export them from wherever they're being stored at that time, and then come in here, click import, and then upload that file. I will include some links in this email so that you have access to videos that walk you through that process, but I won't dive into that too much today. You also have this button with the 3 dots up here, and there are a couple options. So one is to export all of your contacts. So if you ever did need to transfer your contacts from Command into another platform, you can export them from here. The other 2 options are to export mailing labels, and there's 2 different formats. PDF is preferable because it will actually format these mailing labels to be the same size as the standard Avery return address labels so that you can very easily print off all of your contacts and their home addresses to be able to put them on cards and send them out. So around times like these, with the holidays coming up, this will be very, very helpful. And this is something that you can start preparing for next year. So I'm going to click Add Contact to start adding a new contact to my database. So full name is the only required field. However, hopefully you have at least an email or phone number or address for that person so that you have a way to contact them. So I'm going to put Donald Duck in here. It's a fake email, obviously, and then we have a fake phone number. Okay. One thing to note, you do not need to change this to a Canadian flag. I think every single country's in here. But as soon as you save the contact, it is going to detect that that phone number is Canadian, and it's going to update the flag for you. So don't spend time scrolling through there. Just a time-saving tip. Next, we have lead source, and this is what allows you to track how this person is ending up in your database. So when you scroll through, you'll see a lot of different options. Some are other CRM systems. You've got different activities, like if you had a community event or even a direct connection, maybe you know them personally, maybe you went door knocking. You can track where this person came from so that later down the line, you can see what methods are working and what aren't. So you can filter your database by these lead sources, which just allows you to look up where all of your contacts are coming from and see what sources are working, where maybe you need to spend a little bit more time or stop spending so much time if it's not working. Next, you have this button that says Mark as Lead, and if you're not familiar with the difference between a lead and a contact, essentially a lead is someone that you don't have a personal relationship with. You likely only have some contact information, and that's it. You have not had a two-way conversation, and you don't know what their intentions are, if they're interested in working with you, or what the deal is there. A contact, which is what we're adding here, is someone that you do have a relationship with. Maybe it's a previous client, your sphere of influence, whatever it is. Essentially, you're just going to mark as a lead if that person is considered a lead. It's someone that you don't have a relationship with. Next, we have tags, and this is what allows you to sort and filter your database and also segment it so that you have groups of people with different interests or maybe geographical locations or just ways for you to differentiate people within your database for messaging, marketing, things like that. So there are system tags in here, so there will already be some preloaded that you can choose from, but if you don't see what you're looking for, you can create your own custom tag. And you just do that by typing it in. So maybe I want to tag for all of my Halifax-based clients. I can create a custom tag, choose the color, click add, and now I have a tag called Halifax that I can add to all of my contacts going forward. Down here under add more information, you will find we have spots for additional contact information. We've got home address. This is very important for those mailing labels I mentioned earlier. So if you are filling in home addresses and it is their mailing address, just make sure to check off same as mailing address here so that you are able to export those labels. Under About, we have some other information like their legal name or description. So description would just be any details you want to remember about them and keep that in their contact record. Next, we have birthday and home anniversary, and these are great dates to be keeping track of to be able to reach out to the people in your database when they have those milestones come up. You can even automate those, which is great, and we will talk about that later on in the 12 days of command, but just make sure that you're filling in their birthday. If you have their FinTrack, you have their birthday because it's on their ID. And home anniversary, if you represent them and they're a buyer and they buy a house, you know where they live, so you can fill in their home anniversary. We have relationships here. So if you have two contacts that are related to each other, we have a whole bunch of different relationship options here: spouse, father, mother, son, etc. So you can fill those in and it will connect those two contacts. The last section here is custom, and this is where you can create custom fields. And these are great if you want to keep track of any other information that was not available in the list that we just went through. So you may want to keep track of kids' names or pets' names, or maybe whether they're a first-time home buyer. To create a custom field, you just click Add Custom Field, start typing in what you want that field to be called. If it was kids' names, I already have that one, but I'm just going to do that so you can see what that looks like. So if it's not already a field that you have, you're going to click Create Custom Field here. You can choose what type of field, whether it's text or a date or a checkbox like this one up here. Click Done, and then now you have a field to fill in that information. Okay, so I'm going to save this contact just by clicking Create here at the bottom. So now you can see my contact has been added. The tags are showing up here. We've got phone number, email address. However, you can customize what shows up here like I mentioned earlier. I can click Customize Columns, and then you have a whole list of the available columns. So this will pull from all of the fields in the contacts as well as your custom fields. And then you have your order of what's checked off. So I only have these first three, but maybe I want my phone and email to be before the tags. All I have to do is come to the tags, click and hold and drag this down, and then that will rearrange it. So when I come up like this, it's going to show that information this way. Okay, I'm going to click on the name here to open up the contact record, and you'll get a lot more information once you open up the contact. So on the left-hand side, we have the contact card, and that's going to have all the information that we added to that contact. And of course, you can always edit it by clicking on this pencil icon here at the top, which will bring this window back up, and you can edit that contact and any of the information that you put in there. Okay. On the right-hand side, we have a timeline. So all of the events that happen for this particular contact are going to show up here. This includes things like your notes. If you do have your email connected in the settings, which we talked about yesterday, it will show any emails that you've sent to that email address for that contact. You will see any smart plans that they have been added to or any communications that have gone out to them from any of those sources. You will see Also, if they do have your KW app, which we're going to talk about later in this video series as well, you can see a timeline of the things that they're doing on that app, which is really nice. So as we go through the different sections of Command, a lot of this will make more sense, but just remember that this timeline is here. And it's going to give you a lot of information about that contact. Along the top, we also have some tabs, and these are going to make more sense as time goes on because the things like opportunities, smart plans, tasks, we're going to talk about those specific sections because they do have their own applets within Command. So I'm not going to dive too much into those, but just know that there is a tab here in the contact for each of those, which will just show you information about that particular contact relating to those applets. Lastly, I do want to mention this little plus button here at the bottom. So when you click that, there are a few options. One is to add a calendar event. So like I mentioned yesterday in the settings, if you've connected your KW email to the Google Calendar section, I can click this to start creating a calendar event for that contact. It's going to open a new tab in your Google Calendar, but it will link this contact and their contact information as a attendee of that meeting, so they get an invite to add it to their own calendar. You can also add those notes right from here, which is another easy spot to do that. Then we have add activity here, and that is where you can actually specifically track your interactions. So if you had a meeting with Donald or a call or an email, you can track that here. So that, we'll put a description, it is required. And so now that will track it in the timeline that we had a meeting that day or a phone call or whatever you put into there. So that's a very brief overview of the contacts. Of course, there's a lot more detail I could go into, but not in 10 minutes. So I will put some links below that will help guide you through a lot of those processes, like adding your contacts, importing them, and making sure that your database is as organized as possible so that it's working for you and not against you. Tomorrow, we'll be looking at smart plans. So that will help you automate your emails, text messages, and tasks to save yourself a ton of time. See you then.